Hey guys, it's Phantom, and ugh, welcome, welcome back to the Ask Phantom podcast, season 2 premiere, season 2, episode 1 premiere. So, I tried filming episode 1 of season 2 a while ago, but it didn't turn out very well, and so I decided to film a more proper episode. Also, hi, if you don't know me. Hi, I'm Phantom. I am a YouTuber, author, medium, host of the Ask Phantom podcast, which you are watching and or listening to right now, and an all-around content creator. So, yeah. So, let's get into this episode. So, this is going to be talking about shifting. This is going to be talking about if I have a do I have a specific method for shifting? What do I use to shift? Do I script? Do I script my realities or my DRs? And that's gonna be discussed here in this podcast episode. So, I do want to I do want to kind of talk about I do kind of want to talk about that. Um uh so yes, I do script actually. Yes, if you're wondering, I do script my DRs. Um but I don't have a specific method. Um, I don't have a specific method for shifting. Hold on, I'm going to turn on Do Not Disturb. Um, Sorry, I'm just kind of organizing here a little bit. So, I don't have a specific method when it comes to shifting. Hold on. I don't have a specific method when it comes to shifting. I just shift. Um, okay. Let's talk a little bit about reality shifting for a minute, because there's a lot of people that confuse reality shifting with lucid dreaming or just dreaming in general. Like, oh, you're just lucid, oh, you're just dreaming. No. Uh, lucid dreaming is completely different. Um, completely different from that. So, yeah, hold on. Lucid dreaming is completely different from shifting. So, if you don't know what reality shifting is also called quantum jumping. Um, It is also referred to as quantum jumping. So hold on, I'm sorry, I'm trying to organize some things. My phone is a bit of a mess. Okay, so let's hop in here. Let's hop into Notion here. Okay, let's hop into Notion if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Let's hop into Notion. And I'm going to screen record this. I'm going to screen record this so that I can, pop it into the podcast later. So, I have 2 DRs, my Evangeline DR, and my other DR. So yeah, I have my Evangeline DR and my other DR. So this is what my Notion looks like. So I have 2 scripts. I have my stuff for my Evangeline DR, which, if you don't know, if you are unaware what my DRs are like, it's pretty crazy. A lot of crazy stuff has went down in my DRs. So, I have my Evangeline DR, which is the DR that I shift to the most. If you don't know what DR is, it means desired reality. When you shift timelines, that also counts as shifting. That also counts as reality shifting. So, basically, okay, I do script. So, for my Evangeline DR, I have general information. I have, obviously, like, the name that I'm called in my DR, like my DR family, DR siblings, age range, so, like, your age range in your DR, or whatever, and kind of, like, what goes on in my DR, really. Again, I don't script that much, but I do script. So, here it says my name in my DR, which my name in my DR is Penny, or I am called Penny in my DR. My family in my DR. If you're unaware, I have this book series which this DR is based upon. It's a little bit different in my DR than it is in the actual book series, but for the most part, it's pretty book accurate. But there's a lot of things that go down in my DR that doesn't happen in my book series, which this DR is based upon. And you could, like, script a bunch of different things. You don't have to script if you shift. You don't have to script if you shift. You can just shift without scripting. Like, it can be all, in your mind. Like, it's basically, when you shift, it's basically shifting your consciousness from one reality to another reality. So basically, I have, like, general information, which is, like, the name I'm called in my DR, parents in my DR, siblings in my DR, age range in my DR, and then like other information, which is like you can, you can script, you can basically script, you know, you can get things like, you can get injured or sick, but, not die. Um, and okay, a little bit, a little bit of a backstory with people in my DR. Okay, so people in my DR, the people that are in my desired reality, um, like for example, like my family in my desired reality, most of them are, oops, most of them are, like, you know, most of them are like angels, um, or have like angel forms. And I'm not too sure if angels are able to, I'm not too sure if angels are able to die or not. But, yeah, I basically scripted that in my DR I cannot, um, that in my DR I cannot die. Um, so, let me just talk about like what family is like in my DR. So, okay. So I had envisioned this for a while. So, okay. So the majority of my DR family are, the majority of my DR family were born between the years of, like, okay, like my eldest sibling in my DR is, my oldest siblings in my DR are, you know, Gen Xers. When it comes to generations in my DR, first we're gonna start with siblings. In my DR, which my eldest sibling in that DR, her name is Bexy. Um, Bexy Vivian Levine. Yes, spelled Levigene, Levine. Um, okay. So my eldest sibling in my Evangeline DR, her name is Bexy Vivian Becker Levine. And her mother is a therapist, and her other mother is a teacher. Um, Mind you, my family in my DR are in a poly relationship. Uh, so like my parents in my DR are in a poly relationship with like, so there's like, I think like four people. I think like four people. So there's Melissa, Amanda, who is called Mandy. Uh, yeah. So we have Melissa, Mandy. Those are like, they're like the base. They're like the base couple. And then we have Allison and another member of my parentals, like of my parents. Um, you know, like poly relationship. And then we have Bexy. Bexy is my eldest sibling. She was born in 79 October, uh gosh, what was it? October 5th, I think. I could be wrong. October 5th, 79, I'm pretty sure. And then D. And then we have D, or Delphine. But we call her Dee Dee. We call her Dee Dee, Deeds. We call her Dee Dee, Deeds, Delphine. And then also in my DR, I call her Sissy most of the time in my DR. And then we have D, or Delphine. Delphine, Isabel, Evelyn, Carradine, Nee, Levine. And then we have Dee Dee, which by far, Dee Dee has to be my favorite sibling, the sibling in my DR that I'm closest to, mainly because Delphine takes on the role of, like, raising most of us. Like, I'm very attached. I'm very attached to Dee. Like, I'm very, very attached to Dee Dee, so, yeah. I'm, like, super, super attached to Dee Dee in my DR. So, yeah. And, okay, if you're wondering what Delphine's appearance looks like, Delphine is, okay, so, again, Delphine is a Gen Xer. She is the youngest of the Gen Xers. She was born in 1980, October 1st, 1980. Yeah, October 1st, 1980. And she has a very alternative gothic style. She always has. She always will. She's not that type of person that, like, okay, so, you know, goth was, like, very popular. Goth was, like, very, very popular in the 80s. So she dressed very goth, in, like, very goth clothing. I don't really think she was into bands. She might have been. I'm not sure. She might have been. I don't know. But, like, she identifies more with the 90s and the 2000s. Okay? Because Gen Xers, the late Gen Xers, okay? The late Gen Xers, especially someone like D, would identify more with the 90s, early 2000s era. 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, so on and so forth. But, yeah, D dresses very, and, like, okay, basically what her appearance looks like. So, like, when you think of someone like D, Delphine, I'm sorry, I'm, like, so used to calling her D. When you think of someone like Delphine, she is very goth, edgy. She's very gothic. She loves gothic, she loves, like, giving off gothic vibes and, like, giving off that, like, scary type of vibe. Because, like, that's just her personality. So, yeah, that's what D is a little bit like in my DR. Talk a little bit more about D. But I have my script here. I don't usually script. I just shift and stuff happens. So, yeah, but D, basically, D's the more responsible of everybody. Like, of all the siblings, she's like the motherly sibling, She's the motherly sibling. So in my DR, like, she said she told me once in my DR, like, you know, like, I took care of you, or whatever, like, it's my DR self, Penny, or Penelope, as people call me in my DR. You know, she's like, I help take care of Penelope. I call the shots when you're not here. You know, basically, I call the shots when you're not here because, okay, Bexy is the eldest. But she's very, very shy, and Dee has that freedom because she works nights. Dee works nights. So, Dee took care of me during the day. Like, I'm talking about my DR self. Not myself in this reality. Talking about my desired reality self. So when I shift. So basically, Dee takes care of me. She's kind of that take charge. She's that take charge personality. She's that alpha persona. She's that alpha persona. She's the alpha motherly persona, okay? Of siblings or of parents, because I mean, believe it or not, Dee has been a parent since Delphine. Delphine has been a parent since 97, so she knows what she's talking about. Like, she knows what she's doing. People had always asked her, like, do you know what you're doing? And she's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I literally raised a child. And, like, I literally raised a child. I raised my sister. Like, she's that type of person. She's the type of person that knows what she's doing. And she's that type of person who's, like, very, very serious about it, too. So, like, she's that type of person who's, like, like, you might ask her, do you need help? And she's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've raised, like, several kids. Half of them were my siblings, but I've raised several kids. Like, she's that type of person. So, basically, in my earlier years in my DR, which, if my DR self is, like, 15 plus in 2022, that would mean that my DR self would have been born in, like, 2007. So yeah, Dee basically took charge. No one questioned what she was doing. Like, she kind of referred to me as, like, in my DR, she kind of referred to me, or Penelope. She kind of referred to Penelope as, like, kind of attached to her in a way. I don't know. But, like, Dee is that type of mom that, like, just, okay, for reference, Dee isn't my mom in my DR. In my DR, Delphine is my elder sister, but she took on more of the motherly role when it came to siblings. Because, again, she was in her 20s when my DR self was born. Like, when I was born in my DR, she was, like, it was 2007. So, like, when I was born in my desired reality, it was 2007. So, 2007 minus 1980 equals 27. So, like, she was, like, in 2007 in my DR, when I was born in my desired reality, um, she was 27. And people would always ask her, like, like every day before, like every day or every night after Dee got home from work. Because again, she works the night shift. Her job. She has like two different jobs. She is a fashion designer and she is a dancer. So it's basically how it goes. So she would get home from work. Um, you know, she'd get home from work. It was 2007. My DR self, was a newborn or whatever. And Dee would get home from work. I would be asleep. Um, the other siblings would be at school. The other siblings would be at school. Um, and Bexy would be at work. Bexy is a photographer, if you didn't know. As well as my parents and my DR would be at work as well. And so, like a few other, like one other partner, um, one other parental partner, um, would be like not really questioning Delphine's choices, but like saying, are you okay? Do you know what you're doing? Blah, 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 blah. And she'd look at her with this scary look on her face. She'd look at her with this scary look on her face. And she'd be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. The baby's fine. Like, she's fine. I know what I'm doing. Stop asking me so many questions. Because she, again, like, this wasn't her first rodeo. I am sorry. This wasn't her first rodeo. She's been around plenty of kids. She's been around plenty of kids. And, like, this wasn't her first rodeo. Like, she knew how to take care of me and my DR. When my DR self was younger, I was, like, very attached. Okay, in my DR, I was, like, very attached to Dee. Like, very attached. I don't know why. Like, Dee would get, like, stares, she'd get stared at in public, and she'd, like, look back at them, not say anything, and they would just, and, like, people would just shut up. Like, people would honestly just shut up because they were, like, so scared of her. Like, they knew who she was, and people were afraid of her. Like, I guess because she's, like, that type of person that's, like, no, like, you know, the, I don't play around personality. So, I think, okay, I don't know I don't know what Dee's personality type would have been, or like would be, but like, she's definitely she's definitely not a, you know, she's definitely not a narcissist. I wouldn't call her a narcissist because, she's not. She's, again, she's a Gen Xer. She is a Gen Xer. Um, okay. So, let's talk about like Gen X. So, again, I'm not a Gen X. I'm not a Gen X at all. Um, in in this reality, in my CR, in my current reality, or my or in my desired reality, in this specific desired reality. My DR self was born in 2007, so that would make me a Gen Zer. Um, so yeah, I am not a Gen Xer. I am a Gen Zer. I'm a Gen Zer in both my DR and in my CR. Um, okay, Gen X. So it says self sufficient, results oriented, and hardworking with a tendency to be quiet achievers, entrepreneurial, educated, and independent thinkers. Um, I would say that Delphine is entrepreneurial. She is a businesswoman. Um, she runs a business with her sister, so like she literally runs a company with her sister, and she makes good money, and she is pretty self-sufficient. Um, so Gen Xers are self-sufficient, resourceful, and individualistic since they have accustomed to caring for themselves. This is true. This is true. I would see Delphine as a very independent person. Like, I would see Delphine as an extremely independent person. Um, Individualistic. Like, she's got everything under control. She knows what the heck she's doing. She does not like being told what to do when it like comes to her parenting style. Um, okay. So it said here, okay. So I'm not going to take everything from Wikipedia with a grain, like I'm just going to take everything from sites like Wikipedia with a grain of salt. So Gen Xers were often portrayed as apathetic or as slackers, lacking bearings, a stereotype which was initially tied to Richard Linklater's comedic and essentially plotless 1991 film. Slacker. But yeah, like literally, Delphine, if Delphine wasn't at work, if Delphine wasn't at work, she was, helping. She was helping around the house. She was helping make, she was helping make lunches. She was helping make food. She was, she was a very active she was a very active person. I'm I'm talking about D like she's dead. D isn't dead, okay? D is still very much alive in my DR. All right? D is not dead. Okay. But yeah, that's just how D is. Like D would literally Delphine would we would like go out on walks together in my DR, like, in my early years, my early DR life years. I don't know. I don't know what to call it, okay? Um, like we'd go out on walks. She'd like, since she worked nights, she'd literally spend all her time with my DR self, like with me, or with her, with her own kid. She had a baby in 97. She had a baby. She had a baby girl in 1997, named Farah. She had a baby girl named Farah in 97 with her now husband of 20 plus years. And then later on, like, in my DR self was probably about 2007. My DR self in 2012 was probably about 7 years old, I think, in 2012. Would have been 7, like 6 or 7 in 2012, depending on my, depending on my birth date. And then she had another baby in 2012. She had a son named Ryder. Ryder Hollis. She calls him Hollis. She has her first two kids in my DR are 15 years apart, okay? She had a baby. She had a son with her husband Jake in 2012. She was like she was a parent of a single child for 15 years, and then she decided to she decided to have a baby again in 2012 when she was in her early 30s. She was like, I don't know, I think 32 or, like 31. Yeah, she was like 31. She was going to be 32 in 2012. But yeah. So my DR self, I don't really script my DRs, but I could always start. I don't script my DRs at all, but I could start doing that. But you don't need to have a method to be able to shift. You just figure out what works for you, and then you set the intention to shift, and you intentionally shift. But yeah. Delphine is very Delphine is very, very motherly in a sense. She just kind of hides it a little bit. She just kind of hides how motherly she is, but she is a very motherly person in my DR. She's very sweet to the people she likes. Um she's very sweet to the people she likes and that she can tolerate being around. And then she's also stubborn. She's a Libra, so you know, she's also a little bit stubborn sometimes, but um like I don't know. It's said that Tarians are supposed to be the stubborn ones. Um but yeah, she could be a little, I mean, I don't know. She's not the type of person to talk behind someone's back, but she's the type of person to call someone out on their crap. Like she's the type of person to call someone out on their crap. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because of her appearance. Like some people find her terrifying. Some people might find her terrifying, but like literally she doesn't care. It's just clothes. Like it's just what she feels comfortable in. Like she loves grunge, okay? Like she loves grunge. That's just her thing. Um like she loves the grunge aesthetic. That has always been her thing. Uh in my DR, like both in my DR and in my CR, because remember D is based on a book character. Like she is literally a book character in my CR in this reality. Um so like I literally made D like this. Like she's exactly how she is in my DR, like how I would envision her in my DR. So cuz I have shifted to that DR multiple times. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of how Delphine is um in my DR. Like, do I have other siblings in my DR? Yes, I do, but they haven't been, they haven't been introduced yet because it's still fairly early. Still fairly early in my DR timeline. So, yeah, anyway. Moral of this episode is scripting in your DR is a choice. You don't have to script if you don't want to, but you can. Um, I script in my DR when necessary. I script my DR when necessary, and if I don't script, then I don't script. I just set the intention to shift and I shift. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, if you're on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, comment, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Also, if you are listening on any podcasting platforms, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to keep up to date. And that's whatever platform my podcast is on. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed, and goodbye, guys.